former NBA star Gilbert Arenas has been arrested and is now facing federal charges for allegedly running an illegal gambling ring out of his San Fernando Valley home.
Arenas, along with several others, were arrested today. One of them, a suspected high-level member of an Israeli organized crime group. Arenas has already made his first court appearance, facing a judge this afternoon in downtown L.A. KTLA's Mary Beth McDade live in Encino with more. Mary Beth.
Yeah, and Mike and Sherry, as the hours wear on, I'm getting to read these court documents a little bit further. And so it appears that the illegal gaming up here at this Encino mansion began back in September 2021 and then came to a screeching halt the night of July 19th, 2022. That's when the feds raided this Encino mansion. And at the time, there were 26 high-stakes poker players inside, as well as a lot of staff that were made up of young women, chefs, valets, and security guards.
You're asking me, I'm telling you.
Former NBA All-Star turned podcaster Gilbert Arenas was allegedly running illegal high-stakes poker games out of his Encino mansion. Arenas, who the feds dubbed Agent Zero, and 7 others, including a suspected Israeli international crime boss and a West Hollywood lawyer, have been charged in a federal indictment. The former Washington Wizards player is accused of renting out his Encino mansion on Gable Drive for the illegal games, which were allegedly hosted by his co-conspirators. According to court documents, Arenas texted one of his co-conspirators this picture of a poker table in connection to the games, which allegedly took place from September 2021 to July 2022. A neighbor recalls seeing unusual activity and scantily clad women during that time frame.
Well, just mostly people coming out at all hours of the night. Usually I'd see women, though, coming out. Yeah, maybe 1 or 2 or 3 in the morning and taking off with whomever in a car down the street.
The alleged Israeli crime boss, Yevgeny Gershman, is accused of hiring young women who, in exchange for tips, served drinks, provided massages, and offered companionship to the poker players. The women were charged a tax, a percentage of their earnings from working the games.
The more people you have who are willing to engage in stuff that's illegal or high risk puts us all in certain situations that we don't want to be in.
Arenas and several of his co-defendants have been charged with 1 count of conspiracy to operate an illegal gambling business and 1 count of operating an illegal gambling business. Arenas was also charged with 1 count of making false statements to federal investigators. Yeah, he apparently told investigators that he didn't know what was going on up here at his Encino mansion. And we have learned that the mansion was sold a few years ago and now operates as a drug and alcohol rehab facility. For now, reporting live here in Encino, Mary Beth McDade. We'll send it back to you guys in the studio.
And an 18-year-old woman accused of leading a pickpocketing ring. She's accused of targeting female shoppers around central Indiana. CBS 4's Jesse Wells explains how Fishers police say the story can serve as a warning for women everywhere.
According to court records, the suspect admitted she stole about 30 wallets from various stores, including this Walmart behind me, and she didn't act alone. The accused thief confessed she taught other young girls how to assist her in committing those crimes.
Here in the candy aisle of this Walmart on East 96th Street, a 62-year-old woman had her wallet stolen from a shopping cart in March. Days later, in the juice aisle of the same store, an 85-year-old woman fell victim to the same crime. Just across the street at this Meijer, a 76-year-old woman had her wallet and credit card stolen. Surveillance video in that case showed Shania Smith leaving the store, followed by Smith allegedly using the victim's stolen credit cards to buy hundreds of dollars of merchandise at Castleton Square Mall. Fishers police claim those thefts were part of a much larger scheme targeting older women.
I think it's disgusting.
Court records show the criminal case filed this week in Hamilton County marks the 8th time Smith has been charged with theft and fraud so far this year, spanning 4 counties: Marion, Hamilton, Hendricks, and Boone.
It's not working out for her. It's causing all kinds of stress.
Smith told police she was taught the scheme by her cousin's boyfriend, Devin Tibbs, who is currently accused of attempting to burglarize 2 gun stores like this one in Johnson County. Since then, Smith admitted she was the ringleader of a group of juvenile girls who worked together to distract victims and steal their wallets.
In her own admission, she was taught to do this, and now she's teaching others. But I also apparently, in her own admission, she tells others, don't do this.
Fishers police just hope the crime spree encourages shoppers to be alert and try not to be an easy target for thieves.
We hear about these things when people travel. We just don't think it's going to happen to us when we're going to our own store for a gallon of milk. And that's when we are vulnerable because our guard is down. So I don't want people to walk around on pins and needles, but I want people to walk around aware of their surroundings.
Finally, the suspect remains behind bars in Marion County on a $4,000 cash bond. If she is released, a warrant has been issued for her arrest in Hamilton County. Jesse Wells, CBS 4 News.
All right, we want to turn now to an update on a story that we've been following for you. The Delta Airlines pilot who was arrested on a plane at SFO over the weekend has now been identified. Officials confirming that Rustin Bagwagar has been arrested on child sex abuse charges, and he's being held in Contra Costa County. And that's where we find KTVU's Devin Truby, who joins us live. Devin?
Bagwajar remains in custody with bail set at $5 million after Homeland Security and sheriff's deputies arrested him on board a Delta Airlines flight he co-piloted into SFO this weekend. Moments after a Delta Airlines flight from Minneapolis landed at San Francisco International Airport at 9:35 p.m. Saturday, law enforcement rushing to the cockpit.
A group of uniformed people who were armed came right through the first class cabin toward the cockpit, and they asked everybody to stay in their seats.
Passengers say they counted at least 10 officers.
Everybody that I saw was armed, but they had different clothes on. Not everybody had the same uniform on. Some of the people had a uniform that said HSI, and some of the people didn't.
According to Contra Costa County Sheriff's Office, their detectives and Homeland Security arrested 34-year-old Rustin Bagwagar of Florida.
He was very calm when he was walking out with his hands behind his back.
Delta Airlines responding to the arrest, saying in his statement, quote, Delta has zero tolerance for unlawful conduct and will fully cooperate with law enforcement. We are appalled by the reports of the charges related to the arrest, and the individual in question has been suspended pending an investigation. The Sheriff's Office has been conducting the investigation since April after reports of sex crimes against a child. Bagwagar is in custody with bail set at $5 million, facing 5 counts of oral copulation with the child under the age of 10. According to court documents, Bagwagar's last known address in Contra Costa County was at Mavis Place in San Ramon. The female victim reported while Bagwagar was dating her mother. The abuse started when she was 6 until 11 years old. The victim also said her mother knew about the abuse because the mom was present for the sexual acts.
It just reminds us that child abuse can happen in any community, to any child, to any family.
Carol Carrillo is the executive director for the Child Abuse Prevention Council of Contra Costa County. The group provides trainings, community outreach, and forums about the signs of child abuse and how to keep kids safe. Her message, don't hesitate to reach out.
We also do a resource directory that we give out free to the community on how to access resources in the community. There's 211, which is another way to access resources.
The council says should this investigation and arrest arise concerns within the community, they can provide resources or an event so people feel more informed.
Morning, we do have new details from Monday's shooting at the GSR, including the identity of the victims and the shooter. Sparks police confirming this video shows that alleged shooter moments after the initial shots were fired. Police identifying him as 26-year-old Reno resident Dakota Haver, who police say fired off 80 rounds during the course of the incident. They say he purchased the gun legally 2 years ago, but bought the ammo recently. Police also tell us he has no criminal history or history of mental illness was found either. The 3 people killed in the shooting have also been identified. 33-year-old Justin Aguila and 33-year-old Andrew Canepa are both from Southern California. 66-year-old Angel Martinez is from Northern Nevada. Now, Martinez was driving his vehicle through the parking lot away from the building when police say he was ambushed and shot several times. According to a GoFundMe, family says Martinez loved being a grandfather and had a lifelong love of cooking. Aguila and Canepa, part of a group of 5 in town for a bachelor party. Police say they were shot from behind while waiting in the valet area for a ride to the airport. 2 others in that group are still hospitalized but expected to make a full recovery. A 5th has already been released from the hospital. Canepa was a business owner who once raised money for victims of a mass shooting. He leaves behind a 6-year-old son, and his friends now reacting to the news of his death.
I'm just in shock. One of the nicest people you'll ever meet. Always very welcoming, always happy. Very welcoming to the community, very supportive.
Very passionate about San Francisco sports teams, the 49ers and the Giants. And of course, I'm a Dodger fan, so we battled. Very passionate about his family. He has a 6-year-old boy that was his world.
Verified GoFundMe pages have been set up for the families of Canepa and Martinez. We have a link on our website. Sparks police say they found no connection between any of the victims and the alleged shooter. A candlelight visual will be taking place tonight at the Unity Center of Reno on Kings Road. That starts at 5:30.
Of killing a local woman could never see the inside of a courtroom here in Las Vegas.
But the victim's family is doing everything they can to bring justice against the accused murderer. News 3's Dana Wagner explains in tonight's Operation Crime and Justice Report.
You may remember this story. Eric Rangel Ibarra, accused of killing Leslie Palacio 5 years ago here in Las Vegas. He was on the run for 4 years before he was arrested last year in Mexico. Palacio's family says it is time for justice.
Nobody should have to go through that. Losing a child, a sister, an aunt is extremely hard. And it's even harder when you know that the person that did this still has not been held accountable for it.
That's Ophelia Markarian talking about a high-profile murder case from 2020. A case we had in the news for days. Eric Rangel Ibarra, accused of murdering his girlfriend, Leslie Palacio. A surveillance camera captured Ibarra and his father, Jose Rangel, dragging her body from a home and into a truck. Her body was taken to Valley of Fire State Park and dumped. Jose Rangel did 8 months behind bars for helping cover up the crime. Eric fled to Mexico, his home country. He'd been hiding out there until he was found and taken into custody last year.
They are waiting for their day in court, for Leslie's voice to be heard, for justice to be brought, but none of that can happen until the suspect is in the United States.
What do we want? Justice! When do we want it?
Now! The family might have to wait a lot longer for justice to be served. In fact, despite the fact he's in custody in Mexico, he may never be coming back to the United States.
We have never, in my experience, had Mexico extradite a Mexican national back to the United States.
Wait a minute, you've never had Mexico extradite to the U.S.?
From my experience, we've never had Mexico extradite a Mexican national back to the United States, especially in a murder case.
David Rogers, the former district attorney of Clark County, he had a similar case more than 30 years ago. An accused killer fled to Mexico, and Mexico wouldn't return him for the murder trial, which turns out is their right. According to Article 9 of the extradition treaty signed between the U.S. and Mexico in 1978, neither contracting party shall be bound to deliver up its own nationals, which means Rangel Ibarra may never be coming back to Las Vegas. That news is extremely frustrating for Palacio's family.
We know that it's not simple, but it's been over a year. And this case needs to be made a priority, and a murder suspect should not be sitting in another country while the family is waiting for accountability. He's a murderer, and he needs to be brought back to the United States to face the consequences.
Last we heard, Rangel Ibarra still in custody in Mexico. Clark County DA's office tells us they are still working on extraditing him here to Las Vegas.
It was here on the streets of Queen Anne Hill, overlooking downtown Seattle, where a seemingly minor traffic accident would kick off an hours-long crime spree that police say led to a 67-year-old woman being gunned down, an accused killer slipping past police, and an international manhunt taking investigators across the globe. There was simply no way for anyone here on these normally quiet streets that morning to know the chaos and tragedy that was coming. The first victim of January 26, 2024 was right here at 9th Avenue and Howe Street. She said that she got rear-ended, and when she got out to exchange information with the other driver, a man put a gun in her face, stole her car keys, and then took off in her SUV. And that's where the first video picks up. As Seattle police raced into the area, an officer's dash camera was recording when he said he saw that stolen Porsche SUV going east on Mercer Street. He zips through traffic to catch up to it and follows the car onto I-5 while radioing updates to other officers.
Checking plate 04970.
It was just south of downtown where the car swerves and then takes off. The officer attempts to follow, but he can't keep up. The carjacked Porsche gets away from police, but investigators say the suspects inside it aren't done yet. About 45 minutes later at this QFC grocery store in Normandy Park, another camera captures that Porsche SUV pull into the parking lot. The driver gets out, then the passenger, and it's here where we see a clear shot of who police identify as Salman Haji. Next to him, police say that is then 19-year-old Illis Abdi. Inside the store, police say they are using the credit card of the woman they just carjacked to buy gift cards. After a few minutes, that video shows them take the gift cards and leave, getting back into the Porsche SUV, and police say moving on to their next target. 20 minutes later and 5 miles away in Tukwila, a camera is rolling as that Porsche SUV comes into the east parking lot of a Costco. Police say Salman Haji is in the passenger seat and Illis Abdi is behind the wheel. Another camera captures these two women walking to their car with no hint of the danger they are about to face. The camera shows them load groceries as the Porsche drives by, then flips around and heads back, stopping right behind the women. This is when police say Salman Haji gets out of the car and approaches the driver to steal her purse. There's a struggle, and the passenger, 67-year-old Yuan Ming, tries to help her sister. You can't see it here, but inside the car, police say Haji hits the driver with his gun, then shoots Ming in the chest. He runs back to the Porsche, and they speed off, this camera recording that stolen Porsche leaving the area. First responders raced in and tried to save Ming's life, but she died. Bystanders were in shock after what happened.
It was devastating because I could tell it was an elderly woman too. You could just tell, just the whole scene was just nasty.
It looks like someone climbed over the fence right there.
Seattle police and the carjacking victim were able to use a GPS tracker to locate the Porsche in a parking lot behind a church in the city of SeaTac.
I think they wiped it down because that's dry earth. It's been rained on. There's a medical mask and receipts, like ATM receipts.
Well, one of the suspect descriptions, they had a blue mask on.
Yeah. In the days after the shooting, police said very little about what had happened and their investigation. But behind the scenes, investigators knew if they could solve the carjacking in Seattle, they could likely solve the murder in Tukwila. Now, the victim of the carjacking said that her credit card was used at the QFC grocery store. Remember that video of the store entrance and the gift cards at the cash register? Well, that became a top priority for investigators. And this moment, when the suspect turns his head. At first, investigators didn't know who this was, but they put out a police bulletin asking if any cops in the area knew him. They did. An officer from Des Moines police said that he recognized this person as Salman Haji, and police said this still image matched Haji's driver's license photo. But that wasn't enough. They had to turn to the stolen SUV in hopes that perhaps the killers had left behind clues. Now, according to charging documents, crime scene investigators found two sets of prints on this SUV, one matching Salman Haji and the other coming back to Illis Abdi. The court documents don't say exactly what date investigators identified Haji and Abdi as their suspects in the carjacking and murder, but there is one very important date, February 1st, which is 5 days after the murder of Yuan Ming. That day would change the course of the entire investigation. While police were still quiet, a social media account known for posting about gangs and crime in Seattle made a post identifying Haji as the Costco killer. Within a day, investigators say Haji came here to the Seattle-Tacoma International Airport and boarded a flight. Investigators say he went to Africa. But again, police weren't talking about any of this publicly at the time, leaving many to wonder if investigators would ever solve the case. Then, a few weeks later, there was another shooting down the road in Kent. In this case, a teenager was shot in the head and killed, and there was no connection at the time to the Costco shooting. But as Kent investigators dug into it, they came up with a suspect, Illis Abdi. And in May of 2024, Abdi was arrested for the Kent shooting, and then the next week, he and I.G.G were both charged with the murder of Yuan Ming. While Abdi was now in jail, investigators turned their attention to figuring out how to get I.G.G back to Washington. Like everything in this case, they kept their work quiet. Then, earlier this month, Salman I.G.G was booked into the King County Jail and given a bail of $5 million. The FBI says they tracked him down in Nairobi, Kenya, and brought him back to Seattle. With both suspects now in custody, the next step here is for the King County Prosecuting Attorney's Office to prove their case beyond a reasonable doubt. Critical to that will be some of those videos that you have just seen. Now, Illis Abdi, who's been in custody for more than a year, he has pleaded not guilty to these charges. Salman I.G.G, of course, he was just brought back to the United States last week. He hasn't faced a judge yet. We expect that to happen late next week. One of the main questions that I've heard here is, why did all of this happen? Well, the Tukwila Police Department put out a statement and they reiterated they believe that this was an attempted robbery in the parking lot of that Costco. I.G.G, who's the accused shooter, also faces a federal charge of carjacking for stealing that woman's Porsche SUV right here in Queen Anne.
A deadly shooting at a home in the Southwest Valley leaves a woman dead and another woman struggling to survive. Thanks for joining us at 4. I'm Vanessa Murphy.
And I'm Brian Loftus. This happened last night. Ford Avenue near Buffalo and Blue Diamond. 26-year-old Jacob Lister was arrested. The victims, his mom and sister. His mom died, his sister as well in the hospital. He was scheduled to go before a judge this afternoon. 8 News Now reporter Jessamine Woke live at the Regional Justice Center with why he didn't show up.
Jacob Lister faces 2 charges, an open murder charge for the death of his mother and the attempted murder of his sister. He was scheduled to appear here in court earlier this afternoon, but refused to show.
The first case that I'm going to call is State of Nevada versus Jacob Lister.
Jacob Lister, a no-show at Judge Susan Baucom's courtroom. Metro Police say around 5:30 Sunday night, they received a call claiming he shot his mother and sister.
Mr. Lister was a refusal to court today. The court did find probable cause existed for his arrest on open murder with use of a deadly weapon.
The mother, in her 50s, pronounced dead at the home. The sister, in her 20s, taken to the hospital with life-threatening injuries. I spoke with neighbors shocked to see the police activity Sunday night.
Just cruising around, and then I saw a bunch of lights and caution tape.
Hunter has lived in the area with his family for 10 years and said this was unusual for the area.
It's pretty insane. Like being in this neighborhood, like I said, it's always been quiet and it's a pretty nice neighborhood. So seeing that and hearing that was pretty wild.
I returned to the scene on Monday and spoke to neighbors whose homes were previously blocked off with police tape. 2 separate neighbors told me, although they don't know the family personally, the home has a reputation for holding loud fireworks on the 4th of July. 8 News Now also spotted a silver truck along Blue Diamond near the scene on Sunday. Detectives say it is connected to the shooting. As for what's next for Lister,
So Mr. Lister will be held on no bail since he was a refusal today.
and no word yet on what may have provoked the shooting, but Lister is currently being held at the Clark County Detention Center, and he's expected to return here to court on Wednesday. Reporting live from the Regional Justice Center, Jessamine Wolk, 8 News Now.
The former city manager of Lamarck has been returned to Galveston County after he was arrested in the DFW Metroplex. The Galveston County Sheriff's Office says Joshua Pritchett was taken into custody Saturday afternoon yesterday during a traffic stop near Royce City after they had reports he was hiding out there. Pritchett resigned from his post in Lamarck earlier this month. He is charged with arson and tampering with evidence, among other things. Bond is set at $90,000.
Well, good evening. A summer pool party turned into tragedy. A teenage boy was killed and 2 other teens are now in the hospital after an overnight shooting in an apartment complex in Northeast Harris County.
Fox 26's Jillian Hartman live at the scene. She spoke with a woman who helped several kids get to safety. Jillian. Yeah, a woman tells me she was working out in the gym right next to the pool when the shooting happened, and she says a bullet went through the gym windows and shattered the glass, and from where I'm standing, you can see one of those windows boarded up. She describes kids screaming and running inside. She told them to get down, and she turned off the lights. She is still very shaken up, just like many others who live in this complex. This surveillance video captures the terrifying moments at a summer pool party. A mother tells me she was inside her bedroom when she heard 20 gunshots just before midnight and then saw chaos outside.
We're looking out the window and we see kids jumping the fence from the pool. They're running everywhere, jumping. And then we hear them screaming. I heard someone say, "Oh my God, he's not moving." I see someone laid out on the ground. I see someone else crying. It's chaos everywhere. Then after that, we see a young lady. She said she was in the gym working out, and a bullet shot through the glass and it went right past her face, and it was so close that she could feel the heat from the bullet. So it was mayhem everywhere last night.
The Harris County Sheriff's Office says about 30 teenagers were at the pool party at the Henry at Liberty Hills apartments. A boy believed to be 17 was shot and killed. A 15-year-old boy and girl were hurt and taken to the hospital. Some tenants say the pool is supposed to be closed at 10 p.m., but say after-hours parties have been a constant problem this summer.
It has been a trend this summer to where people who do not live here, that are not residents, they come here and throw pool parties. And it's been the entire summer. I'm always calling the police, always, because it gets out of hand.
All summer long, every weekend from Friday through Sunday, they last all like 3 o'clock in the morning. There's been police that would come break it up, and a lot of the times they don't show up here. A lot of the residents have said they complain. I've complained to the front office that like after 10 o'clock, like they're blasting music. It's time to go home.
Some tenants now say they don't feel safe and want stronger security measures.
I think they need to be better at managing access to the pool. There's a lot that can be done.
Well, there's a woman tonight who's facing a murder charge. This is after authorities alleged that she smuggled drugs into the Dallas County Jail and then gave them to an inmate who then died. The victim's family says they're getting all of their information from the media, not from investigators. They say that's a problem. They're sharing their challenges with our Marvin Hurst in a story that you will only see right here on CBS News Texas.
Her name is Quinetta Arietta Brinkley. Family referred to her as Ari, one of 5 kids who they say had a strong independent streak and wasn't afraid to defend herself. Fighting, they tell me, is what led to her time at the Dallas County Jail.
When she got out, she was going to be coming back here, but she's not coming back here. That's it for her. She's the one. She gone. So, yeah. They're responsible.
The 21-year-old would never make it back after what happened at the jail on July 13th. Investigators say Daisy Zuniga faces a charge of murder. Deputies say Zuniga confessed to smuggling drugs into the jail. She was reportedly trying to hide them from Dallas police. An arrest document shows that she hid the drugs in a body part, getting past police, an X-ray scanner at the jail, and a strip search. Once inside, investigators say she invited multiple inmates to partake in Xanax bars with ice and fentanyl inside. Ari Brinkley was pronounced dead 58 minutes after a call for distress to save her. That's according to arrest documents.
Do you all hold anybody responsible for your loved one's death?
I really can't say because I really can't say. I mean, I don't know what went on in that cell.
Her grandmother, Opal Brinkley, had been raising Ari since she was 2 years old.
I was at the store and just happened to pick my phone up and came across my Facebook.
The 74-year-old says that they were stunned to find out more results from the media than from Dallas County. Even during this interview, there was information in the arrest affidavit. The family says it was seen for the first time.
Contraband is always a challenge for us.
CBS News Texas spoke to Dallas County Commissioner John Wiley Price about the jail. He is waiting on the sheriff's investigation. Still, he's putting his support behind the officers.
It's not the fact that they missed anything. I mean, it was in her cavity You know, it wasn't like she, you know, had it around her neck or in her hand. It was in her cavity.
Motto, protect and serve. It went out the door. It was gone. And now she gone. Because somebody didn't do their job.
Unfortunately for this family and our condolences, it's a custodial death. But at the end of the day, this is a small city that operates 24/7.
One is still too many because someone is gone now.
And how will any of this make sense to girly Nina? She's Ari's 1-year-old daughter, who's still waiting for her mother to come home. Marvin Hurst, CBS News, Texas.
We did reach out to the sheriff's office for comment. They didn't provide one. They say it's an ongoing investigation. Commissioner Price, meantime, says that he is going to ask them, meaning the department, to consider using an existing airport-like screening machine to perhaps better search anybody who comes into the jail.
Back, a Maryland family mourning after their loved one was allegedly shot and killed by the father of her children days after getting released from jail.
Investigators now trying to piece together what happened after the domestic violence incident. Fox 5's Tisha Lewis joining us live from Landover with more on this case. Hi, Tisha.
Hi there, and lawmakers saying that today is a tough day because they are talking about this case. Police identifying the victim as 29-year-old Sharita Criswell. Her deceased body found in that apartment complex across the street behind me. The accused killer, no stranger.
I said, I'm going to tell you, don't ever put your hands on my daughter again or we're going to have a problem. He said, Ma, I'm sorry and I love you. I love your daughter. I'll never do it again. 4 days later, he killed my baby. I can't believe he did this to the mother of his kids.
An emotional moment there for Jerice McCotter, saying her daughter's boyfriend turned accused killer, 32-year-old Harry Lindsay, was recently arrested for trying to strangle her daughter, 29-year-old Sharita Criswell. In that case, just 4 days prior, Lindsay was released over prosecutors' objections that he should be held without bond. Just days after being released, Lindsay is accused of fatally shooting Criswell, his girlfriend and mother of their 2 daughters. Lindsay is now charged in connection with her murder that reportedly took place on Saturday afternoon inside an apartment here on Stratford Way in Landover. When police and first responders arrived, Criswell was already dead. At a news conference today, newly elected county executive I.G.G. focused on the dangers of domestic violence and the need for incarceration of abusers who commit violence against family and intimate partners.
I handled several of these cases every single year, families who were victimized by the death of a loved one. But it was those deaths that occurred at the hands of people who the victim knew and was supposed to be loved and cared for by the victim that hurt the most. And I always wonder, what could we have done differently?
Tisha, what more do we know about how Harry Lindsay was apprehended?
Lindsay was apprehended on Sunday in Capitol Heights, and police saying that they used surveillance video to track him down. He was on the run until they were able to nab him. He's now being held without bond. County Executive I.G.G. saying that this is a homicide that should have never happened. Residents in the area not comfortable talking about this violent and deadly encounter on camera. Coming up at 5, though, we will hear from the victim's sister.
Winnie is live in Midtown Atlanta. Mark, there were allegations of domestic violence before the murder, but that suspect got out on bond.
Yeah, a prosecutor with the Fulton County DA's Domestic Violence Division says while the video shows the killer getting the gun moments before this murder, his experience looking at abusive relationships shows how often victims sadly stay in or return to a relationship even as the violence escalates.
In the Perkins case, it is a wife who kills her wife. There had been escalating violence.
In November 2022, Shakaya Perkins shot out of the house she shared with her wife, Cornisha Perkins, stalked to her car, and came back with a gun in her left hand. Then Shakaya shot Cornisha in the head and killed her, says Fulton County Senior Assistant District Attorney Travis Thomas.
Pretty soon after we showed that video, she decided to take the plea.
He says last month, Shakaya Perkins pled guilty to murder and more.
She ultimately pled to life with the possibility of parole. That was a plea deal that was offered. So she admitted everything.
Thomas says though they shared the bond of matrimony on the day of the murder, Shakaya Perkins should not have been near her wife because Shakaya was out on bond totaling $70,000 on charges of aggravated assault, criminal damage to property, terroristic threats, felony, and arson first degree. Conditions including must not come within 200 yards of the victim in those alleged incidents, which was Cornisha.
She tried to run Cornisha off the road in her car, and this all happened within months of this incident. Also, there was an incident where she set Cornisha's car, she had a Jeep, set her car on fire in a driveway.
Thomas says in the vehicle arson, a person believed to be Shakaya Perkins can be seen on doorbell video in the vicinity of the fire. And in another incident, she kicked the door of a residence where Cornisha temporarily stayed. The prosecutor says charges relating to the alleged incidents before the murder were dismissed since Shakaya Perkins agreed to plead guilty in the murder case and accept a life with the possibility of parole sentence. Prosecutor Thomas told us he's a former Army officer who did 2 tours in Iraq. But his work as a domestic violence prosecutor in Fulton County has showed him the toll escalating violence can take.
Recognize domestic violence and seek help. There's a lot of organizations out there that will help.
A transcript indicates the defense said, "My client has never been in real trouble before. You know, this was a toxic relationship that I think both families just wished that they had gone their separate ways. And it's just not what happened. They kept trying to work it out." District Attorney Fonnie Willis.
We here in Fulton County need to do what they've done all across the country and create a family justice center so the victims here, when they are going through this abuse, they have somewhere to go and resources to help them to rebuild their lives.
Now, I guess we're in one of those pop-up showers that Brad just talked about. In 2022, we covered that bond a judge gave in the earlier alleged incidents, a statement then attributed to Fulton County District Attorney Fonnie Willis said, in part, my office opposed bond in this case. Cases involving domestic violence often involve ongoing danger to the victim. We tried to reach out in a number of ways to the defense attorney today. Reporting live, Mark Winnie, Channel 2 Action News.
Enforcement search for inmate 30-year-old Khalil Bryan. This comes after the Orleans Parish Sheriff says the jail mistakenly released him on Friday. It's due to a clerical error. So the NOPD in the sheriff's office says he's wanted for violent and nonviolent charges. Tonight, one of the top crime fighters at the Orleans DA's office calls the release preventable, and he warns of another big problem that needs to be fixed.
This escape on May 16th of 10 inmates from the Orleans Parish Jail captured the nation's attention. Now the jail's accidental release of inmate Khalil Bryan has the facility back in the spotlight.
How could this happen, especially after what happened 2 months ago? It was shock.
That was the initial reaction from Matt Durbus. He is the homicide unit chief at the DA's office. He says he learned about the mistaken release close to 3 p.m. on Friday when a judge notified him.
We consider him a very violent individual.
The Orleans Parish Sheriff says Bryan was in custody for violent and nonviolent offenses, including home invasion and domestic abuse. The sheriff says details on exactly when and how it happened is still under investigation.
We are committed to correcting the internal processes that allowed this to happen.
But Durbus says based on jailhouse phone records, they know Bryan was in jail Thursday night as of 10 p.m. As for the accidental release, he called it absolutely preventable because Bryan is twice the size than the inmate that was supposed to be released.
Pull up the booking photo. Just pull up the mugshot. and look at the person who you're supposed to be releasing and look at the person who you're about to walk out the door and say, this isn't the same guy.
He also says there's another security issue at the Orleans Parish Jail that the public needs to know.
We have a serious concern right now. We've had it since February.
He says it has to do with the sheriff's office making sure all judges' orders and warrants for inmates and individuals are entered into a national crime database. That's what law enforcement and jail facilities rely on to know if there are special orders to either pick up a wanted individual or not release an inmate anywhere across the country.
The sheriff's office is responsible for making sure that warrant is placed into the National Crime Information Center, NCIC.
But he says that hasn't been happening. And on Thursday, it almost led to the release of one of the recaptured jail escapees, Lenton Van Buren. He's been in a Department of Corrections facility since his recapture.
They were about to walk him out the door because there was no detainer in place. There was no warrant in place in the NCIC.
Durbin says fortunately he got a warning about this and got the sheriff's office to put the critical information in the system to stop the release of Van Buren. But he warns it's another big problem the sheriff's office needs to fix.
We also reached out to the Orleans Sheriff's Office for a response over the DA's office warning that the sheriff's failure to put critical information on the judge's warrants into that big database could lead to more incorrect inmates getting released. The Orleans District Attorney's Office says it will release more details on this issue.
Indiana Task Force 1 has been activated by FEMA to respond as a search and rescue team to Florida. Consists of 80 people and in support of FEMA Region 4 ahead of the potential tropical storm Helene you just heard Tyler talking about. That storm is expected to become a tropical cyclone this week. Of course, we'll keep tabs on Task Force 1.
Court documents claim 2 police informants were killed last week by a man police say is a local drug dealer. It all started last Friday when 2 bodies were found in a river in Fort Wayne. Fox 59's Eric Graves breaks down these court documents and their connections to a drug investigation in Richmond. Eric?
Court documents say a Richmond Police Department informant was picked up at this apartment complex just a day before his body was found in a Fort Wayne river. Fort Wayne police say last Friday, volunteers cleaning up the St. Mary's River found 2 bodies inside of trash bags. The coroner identified the 2 people as Matthew Johnson and Christina Dixon, both reported missing out of Richmond earlier that week. Johnson was shot and stabbed, and Christina had been strangled. Court documents detail how multiple witnesses and the Richmond police helped connect this man, Dominique Washington, to the 2 victims. Richmond PD told Fort Wayne detectives Johnson and Dixon were both police informants in an investigation that led to a drug raid 2 weeks ago at a Richmond home where multiple narcotics were found. Court docs say Richmond police told detectives Dominique Washington went by Nico and was a known drug dealer with a connection to the raided house. Police used surveillance video and witness accounts to place Washington picking up Johnson at the Genesis apartment complex and then picking up Dixon from a Richmond home on Thursday. Monday night, Washington was arrested during a traffic stop as he tried to leave this home on Campbell Ave. Washington is now being held without bond, charged with murder and kidnapping in the deaths of both Johnson and Dixon. Dominique Washington's initial court hearing is set for Wednesday in Allen County Court. Reporting in Richmond, Eric Graves, Fox 59 News.
Eyewitness News with live breaking news.
Breaking news as we come on the air here at 3. 2 people taken to the hospital after a shooting at a daycare center in Granada Hills. One person now in custody as parents scramble to reunite with their children. Thanks for joining us. I'm Mark Cutter-Robles.
I'm Giovanna Lara in for Colleen Sullivan. Let's get right to Eyewitness News reporter Leo Stallworth, who's been at the scene gathering information. He's live in Granada Hills. Leo, what can you tell us?
No, my friend, we just drove up about 5-10 minutes ago, and obviously a very frightening ordeal for parents who have kids at the daycare center just around the corner here. You can't see it, but just up the street around the corner here, that's where the private residence is, authorities tell us, which is also a daycare. We're at Bradford Place and Firma Court here in Granada Hills, and this all unfolded around the noon hour. We talked to a police captain who filled us in on actually what went down here.
So today, officers responded to a radio call of a shooting in progress at the location here on Firma Court. Officers discovered 2 victims, 2 female adult victims, approximately in their 50s, that had received gunshot wounds. Their wounds at this time appear to be stable. They do not appear to be life-threatening. The location they responded to is also it's not only a residence, but it appears to be that they have a daycare center at the location. There were children on site during this incident. Fortunately, there's been no children hurt or injured during this incident that we are aware of at this time.
Happened initially? Did he just walk up on this and just started shooting, or what unfolded?
From what I understand, he arrived at the location, acquired a weapon, the shotgun, we believe, and started shooting. Again, it's still under investigation where exactly the shooting happened in the house. The children were in the daycare center, which is actually off to it's a separate entity of the residence. Basically, it's next to the residence.
Did he shoot inside of the house, or was he outside of the house shooting at the house?
Initially, I believe he's inside, but again, that's under investigation. Trying to actually wrap up the reunification process between the kids and the parents. Shortly after this incident, the suspect, we had information on the suspect's vehicle. The suspect was located. Suspect was taken into custody. I do not know the exact location. And so he is taken into custody this time. The weapon we believe involved in this incident, which is a shotgun, has been recovered. So that has been recovered. And we don't believe that there's a general threat to the public. We believe this is relationship-based. Whether it's domestic violence or family violence, we're not clear at this time. It's under investigation.
And again, 2 adults wounded, according to authorities. Not one of the kids inside of that facility harmed. The suspect in custody at this hour. And again, authorities making it clear this does not appear to be a random act of violence. This was some sort of targeted shooting. Authorities are investigating what surrounded this, but they do not believe, again, that this was a random act of violence. So they don't want the folks here in this community to be alarmed or scared or feel like this was some target, more than a targeted hit. So they have the suspect in custody, and this investigation continues. Live in Granada Hills, Leo Stallworth, ABC 7 Eyewitness News. Back to you.
News tonight from Kansas City, Kansas. A Wyandotte County Sheriff's Office deputy has died after being shot earlier this afternoon. We just learned that officer's name is Elijah Ming. KMBC 9's Darissa White is live from the Wyandotte County Sheriff's Office with more tonight. Darissa.
Jackson, that's right. We just learned that deputy's name. His name is Elijah Ming. Now, the Wyandotte County Sheriff's Department detailed what happened. They tell us around 3:30 p.m. KCK PD responded to a call for backup from the Wyandotte County Sheriff's Department. They tell us that earlier that a sheriff's deputy that we now know as Elijah Ming was providing security for someone gathering belongings from a home in the 2600 block of South 30th Street. But according to officials, that routine call quickly escalated. That suspect inside the home came out and confronted that deputy, and that's when gunfire was exchanged. As more officers arrived to the scene, officials say that suspect continued firing a gun before barricading himself inside the home. Now, Deputy Elijah Ming was shot and rushed to an area hospital with life-threatening injuries, where officials tell us that Elijah Ming did die from those injuries. Now, KCK PD tells us the suspect eventually emerged from the home with gunshot wounds. He was also taken to an area hospital, and he's said to be in stable condition. Now, Elijah Ming worked for the Wyandotte County Sheriff's Office for 9 years. Now, Mayor Gardner said that this was just a senseless act of violence, and he also sends condolences to Elijah Ming's family. That's the very latest from KCK. Darissa White, KMBC 9 News.
It's tragic. Thank you, Darissa. When the shots rang out, our neighbors went running for cover. KMBC 9's Alan Shope was also on the scene. He has reaction from neighbors that were home.
All of a sudden, I heard like 4 or maybe 5 pops.
Neighbors living just houses away near 30th and Hagman talking about what they heard and saw on Saturday night.
And then all of a sudden you hear like a million sirens coming out.
Neighbors say police officers and deputies from nearly every area department responding, dozens of police rushing to the scene. One neighbor watching as they took an officer away in an ambulance.
One of the women cops that come up here, you could tell she was very, very distraught. You know, and they had to take her. I mean, she wasn't bleeding or nothing, but she was very distraught and upset, and they took her in an ambulance.
Darlene Verser lives directly across the street from the house where the shooting happened. She said the neighborhood is shaken.
It's scary. It's very scary.
It's breathtaking and it's very concerning.
Another neighbor said they don't know the family, but they were familiar with the kids that lived in the house.
We personally didn't know him. We would see always little kids that would wave up at us out of that house.
It's scary that this neighborhood has come to this. I've only been here for 13 years. Some people have been here a lot longer. This neighborhood was never like that. You got to have some kind of emotion for whoever it was, you know?
In Kansas City, Kansas, Alan Shope, KMBC 9 News.
Are you